Hey everybody, it's Emily and this is Emmylou Arts, and today I got inspired to make a cover for my 2020 Hobonichi Cousin Avec A5. This one I am using for my journal, and I wanted to make a cover for it, or at least the 6 months, using scraps of fabric and old art journaling pages that I just had sitting around. I was really inspired by Gina at the Rebookery. She has a channel on YouTube, and I will link it below. I used to watch her channel all the time, and then I've been so busy trying to keep up with my own stuff that I had fallen off with her videos, and I was kind of flipping around and catching up, and I saw that she made some of her journal covers using scraps of fabric and sewing them together, and old like art journaling pages and stuff. So basically I've just copied the idea from her. She does not use a Hobonichi. She makes a cover and then sews her signatures into a cover. So it's a little bit different. So mine kind of needed pockets to slip in, sort of like how our jelly cover was that we made. So I went through my old art journaling pile. I used to do them quite a bit, not so much since I started in my Hobonichi journal, but they were just sitting in a stack and I really loved them. And I used to use like texture paste and just a whole bunch of different stuff. And so I picked out some with colors that I kind of liked, and then I had gotten fabric scraps at my mom's, and that big one with the little squares was a remnant of a quilt that she had been making, and I loved the colors, and I just thought it was really like kind of serene and peaceful. So I was using that kind of, I knew I wanted that to sort of wrap around the spine and be the majority of it, but then I was planning on using one of the art journal pieces to fold around and make the pockets for the jacket to slip into. Can you kind of see what I'm saying? Now none of this was like measured. This was all pen, mark it, sew it. It almost looks better if it's sloppy, and I'm going to tell you that right now. Like if you like this homemade style and look, you can't be too perfect about it, and that's what's really cool, is because it makes it super easy. So I just kind of played around with it, played around with the placement of the fabric and then the placement of like the papers that I liked, and kind of clipped them together. And then I just kind of lopped off the end of that art journaling page. I left a little bit, probably quarter of an inch on each side of the journal, like top and bottom, because I needed to be able to sew there. I'll show you what I mean when I come back from sewing. But and then I folded it to make the flap where the jacket would sit. See how that kind of slips over. And then I'm just going to sew the paper to the quilt piece. And sounds crazy, but it actually works just fine. And the fun part is, if you have a sewing machine that does different weird stitches, play with it, because you know, a lot of times you don't get to use those fun stitches. They're like zigzags and crazy ones. Mine doesn't do very many, but so I got to really play with that. And I also decided to choose a contrasting color of thread. I really wanted to pick up that kind of mustardy color in it. So that's when I had gotten back from my first trip to the sewing machine. I had just sewn on that piece of paper onto the fabric. And then you can see on the ends, I sewed it there to make a little pocket. And then it just slips right in. Ideally, I would have liked my pocket to be a little bit deeper, but the art journaling page that I chose just wasn't very wide, so I didn't have, you know, a whole lot of excess to fold over. And then I had a little bit of extra there where I had sewed, so I just kind of chopped that off. I just sort of wanted to protect the corners. Like, in reality, I don't really take my journal away from my journaling table, so I don't really need it to be super protected. And this was just kind of something that I really liked. So you can see that the end of that quilt fabric doesn't, it's not long enough to meet up with the other remnant of art journaling that I picked. So I just picked other scraps that I liked and sort of pieced them together in a way that I thought was cute. And like I said, used a pen. I pulled that taut around the spine because you do want it to fit, you know, tightly, and then marked where I wanted that to line up when I sewed it. That green piece and then the piece of the quilt. And then I just went in and I sewed it with a, I don't know what stitch I used. I think like a zigzag stitch or something like that. And then, let's see. Oh, I was kind of experimenting with whether I wanted the quilt piece to be on top of the collage paper or underneath. And I kind of liked it with it on top because it just looked a little bit more unfinished, and I love that look. I hadn't been really in love with any of the covers that I saw from Hobonichi this year. I mean, there were some cute ones, but none that I just like really spoke to me. I loved the Woods at Night one last year. That was my favorite. So I went and I sewed that piece of the art onto the end of the fabric. And then it created the pocket, you can see. So basically it's just that quilt with two pieces of folded paper at the ends, basically, to hold it on there. And like I said, if you just kind of measure or like hold it up to your book as you go, then it will be a perfect fit. And that's kind of it. And then I was just sort of flipping it up and down and around, deciding which side that I actually liked better. And I decided that I actually liked the other side that I thought was going to be the back. I liked that more as the front. So I wanted that to be the front. And then I wanted to sew on that really pretty piece of mustard fabric. And I just love the patchwork look of some of the things that she does. And I've loved the patchwork covers that Hobonichi has done in the past, so I thought I can do this. Like, I have remnants, I have, you know, stuff to sew it to. So it was actually super easy and only took me, well, I started at noon and I was done to get ready for work at like 1:05. And there was a lot of like playing with it to see what I liked, and so it really doesn't take long because you're not being precise. And like, I kind of like how the strings aren't clipped, you know, they kind of are just, it just looks homemade, and I love that. It's like pieces of your life, and I love that it was a quilt that my mom was making. That's really special to me. And then I actually sewed a piece of the art journal page that I had ripped off. It was like a piece of a thesaurus or a dictionary. I sewed that on there too. I love sewing fabric to paper. It's really fun and creates a really fun contrast. So if you're looking for an idea for a cover for your journal, you should give this a try. You can always slip it off so that you can change it out if you feel like it. This was a fun project, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. Thanks, guys. Please subscribe and leave me a comment and tell me, you know, if you're going to try making your own journal cover. It was not as intimidating as it seems. Thanks. Bye.